Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is 10 popular foods that are different in the US. James did this video recently and you guys wanted me to check it out, so I'm here ready to check it out. Before we get into that, just if you're interested, we have a link to a GoFundMe page in the description. It's never expected but always appreciated if you want to give a little bit towards us getting back to America. We are hoping to come back very soon, but yeah, if you guys wanted to help support that, it's in the description. But if you don't worry, honestly, just forget what I said and let's get on with the video.
Well, greetings, food lovers. There's nothing better than some pigs in a blanket on game day, chips on the side, and a big apple pie for dessert, eh? Now, whether you're American or not, could decide how you just imagined all those fun foods I mentioned. And wait, there's more. Check out some other popular dishes in the US that look different around the world.
Okay.
1. Pancakes. Let's say you're an American tourist in Russia. You wake up and you're craving a big stack of fluffy pancakes smothered in butter and syrup.
Pancakes are good.
That hits the spot. You ask for a menu in English, scan it for your morning treasure, and boom, there it is, pancakes. I'll have that, please. The waiter brings your breakfast out. You look down, and you're stunned to see what looks like wimpy, paper-thin French crepes on your plate. Hey man, what gives? Well, pancakes date back to ancient Greece and Rome.
Okay.
Before they were officially dubbed pancakes in America, they used to be called Indian cakes. Crepes, on the other hand, have nothing to do with pancakes in terms of origin, since they date back to the 13th century France. Kinda gives you the crepes, huh? Number 2.
Yeah, so our pancakes are crepes, basically. Thin pancakes with like lemon and sugar on and stuff. James will put gravy on it, which is gross. Not everybody does that, but yeah, thin ones.
Now, speaking of breakfast, when it comes to toast, my, do the French have an imagination. American toast is just a toasted piece of bread. Of course, you gotta throw some butter and jelly on that bad boy. But if you've ever had French toast, well, you know it's a sweet delight of white bread soaked in a mixture of beaten eggs, milk, sugar, vanilla, and cinnamon. I guess that's why they don't need those big, thick pancakes in France. And I imagine they don't call it French toast over there. And if you keep goofing this up, then I imagine you're toast.
We just have, like you, normal toast with butter on, or jam.
3. Pigs in a blanket.
I love pigs in a
Alright,
blanket.
it's football Sunday, and you've rolled some mini hot dogs up in dough and threw them in the oven. If the game you're watching includes big dudes in helmets and pads throwing an almond-shaped ball around, and you refer to your game day snack as pigs in a blanket, you must be American. If you're in the UK, that dish would involve wrapping hot dogs in bacon, and that football you're watching would be what we call soccer in the US. Now, here's where
we wouldn't wrap hot dogs in bacon. We just wrap sausages in bacon. Not hot dog sausages, just any sausage. Not hot dog sausages.
It's trippy. The equivalent of American pigs in a blanket is called a sausage roll in the UK. Yankees call the British variety bacon-wrapped hot dogs. Boy, that just sucks all the fun right out of it, doesn't it? Number 4. Bacon. Since we've touched on the topic of bacon, let's get that straight too. Bacon in the US comes from the pig's belly and is served in thin, crispy strips coated with fat. In the UK, bacon is from the pig's back, and it's less fatty, thicker, chewy, and served in round slices. It's kind of like what Americans refer to as Canadian bacon,
We love
maybe
our
a
bacon.
combination of the US and Canadian types. So, if you're from the UK and you're having a hard time finding some proper bacon in the US, maybe ask for the Canadian variety, eh?
Yeah, we do love your food, but our bacon is better than yours, in my opinion. Just to say, I prefer our bacon.
Number 5. Pudding. Now, my fellow Americans will imagine a creamy custard dessert when they think of pudding. If you were to travel to the UK, you'd get something way different. The British definition of pudding is anything that's been boiled in something else. For example, in the UK and Ireland, they have the infamous black pudding that's served for breakfast. It's also called, wait for it, blood sausage. Really? Well, that just ends it for me right there. They also have sweet puddings, but that would be the cake-like dish we call flan in the US. Flan in the UK, however, is what Americans know as fruit pie.
Yeah.
How confusing. Well, as Shakespeare might have said, a pie by any other name would taste as sweet. Except for that blood sausage thing.
True.
Number 6. Eggs. Okay, eggs are eggs no matter where you go in the world. I'll take mine scrambled, please. But the thing is, stores in Europe don't keep them refrigerated like they do in the US. America does it for safety reasons. The Department of Agriculture determined that the most effective way to fight salmonella is by refrigerating eggs. But that doesn't mean European countries don't take their own safety precautions to fight bacterial food poisoning. In some parts of Europe, they leave the original coating on the eggs. There's an original coating? And that coating protects them from contamination. In other parts, they vaccinate hens to keep the eggs disease-free.
Okay.
Number 7. Breadsticks.
I love breadsticks.
I'm sure
Dip
you
them.
know we have the Italians to thank for this tasty Mediterranean treat. However, when it comes to the original breadsticks, also known as grissini, the food migration game didn't go as planned. You see, when we ask for breadsticks in an American restaurant, we get soft pieces of doughy bread and garlic that we can dip in sauce.
We call that garlic bread.
If you were having lunch in an Italian restaurant and asked for breadsticks, you'd actually get the original version of grissini, crispy baked breadsticks that can accompany your salad or be crunched on as a snack on its own.
Yeah.
Number 8. Ketchup. Now ketchup is another one of those culinary items that got lost in translation. In America, you know that familiar red paste made from tomato, vinegar, sugar, and all the accompanying spices.
Yeah.
However, if you go to Australia and ask for ketchup on your burger, the waiter might give you a funny look and say, "You mean tomato sauce?" This goes back 80 years ago when ketchup hadn't made its way to Australia yet, and they used to serve tomato sauce as a condiment instead. Now, even though ketchup has made its way to Australia, it hasn't changed in terms of language. And while we're here, don't even get me started on that whole ketchup versus catsup deal.
So we say either ketchup, or we say tomato ketchup, or we say tomato sauce. One of the three. But we would know what all three of them were.
9. Chips.
Oh,
One of the
this is
most
confusing.
traditional dishes in the UK is fish and chips. But if you're an American and you didn't know better, you'd imagine someone eating fish and a handful of Lay's or Doritos. But what they call chips are what Americans know as French fries. On the flip side, in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa, what we call chips, the round things sold in half-empty bags, they call crisps.
Yeah.
As for the French part of the American naming, that goes way back to the 1800s or even earlier, when potatoes, not necessarily the sticks we know today, were fried, quote, in the French manner, end quote.
Okay.
French fried back then was pretty much what we call deep fried today.
Right. I did not know that.
Number 10. Cookies. The American understanding of cookie comes from the Dutch word koetje, which means small cake. And when you think about
Ooh,
it,
they look
that's
good.
pretty much what cookies are. Only maybe they're a little crunchier. But in most English-speaking countries, except for Canada, cookies are called biscuits. In fact, they only use the term cookies to describe the chocolate chip ones in particular. As for those fluffy little rolls Americans know as biscuits, those are called scones elsewhere. Now here's my question. What do they call the sweet biscuit hybrid we know as scones in America?
We don't call it
Number
anything.
11.
We don't
Jelly.
have it.
On a related point, as an American, I smother my biscuits, not cookies or scones, in butter and jelly. If you're in the UK, you're probably imagining me hopelessly trying to spread some Jell-O on my bread. Because for you, jelly is my Jell-O and my jelly is your jam. Ow, my brain. Of course, we have jam in the US, but it usually has chunks of fruit in it, unlike smooth, creamy jelly. So travelers, beware. This kind
That
of
is a hot
mix-up could
topic
end
debate.
up putting you in a jam, which in this context means a tough spot. Oh, my head is spinning. Number 12. Pie. Now, back to desserts. I could go on and on about pie. pumpkin, apple, blueberry, cherry. Anyway, pies in some parts of the world aren't the sweet, fruity, round pastries we know and love in the U.S.
Oh, yeah.
In Greece, for example, pies are savory, and the dough isn't as fluffy. They can be made with cheese, spinach, mushrooms, and even some meat. Those kinds are also popular in the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Ghana, Nigeria, and Zimbabwe, to name a few.
Yeah, so we have pies, like we have shepherd's pie, we have meat and potato pies, steak pies, quite a lot of different pies, to be fair, cottage pie, quite a lot of pies.
Number 13. Milky Way bars.
Oh, I love Milky Way.
All right, I know your stomach is growling up a storm by now. So here's our final example of a familiar food that might throw you a surprise if you eat it abroad. If you love American Milky Ways, wait until you try the European version.
Yeah.
It's also made of chocolate and nougat, of course, but it doesn't have that layer of caramel in it. I imagine Milky Way bars in Europe taste pretty similar to the Three Musketeer bars we have in the US. And if you're curious, it got the name Milky Way because it can float in a glass of milk. Really? Yeah, go try it.
Oh, wow.
I'll wait.
I did not know that.
No. All right, Brightsiders, I'd say it's...
That was really good. Let me know in the comments below what your favourite food from that list is. Yeah, it's weird that we have the same things, but just we all call them different names. But that's the way of the world, I guess. No one's wrong, no one's right. It's just what everyone's used to, isn't it? Make sure you guys like and subscribe and have a fantastic day.